Sean and George Paton just held their annual pre-draft press conference. Let's go over the key takeaways. But before we do, guys, I want to shout out the affiliate partner for today's video, Green Gridiron Helmets. Use code DENSYN, DENSYN, link in the description below to save off your first purchase on authentic NFL helmets. From small replicas like this one behind me to full-size authentic helmets. Again, that is code DENSYN, DENSYN, link in the description below to save off your first purchase from Green Gridiron Helmets. Thank you so much to them. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming. I want to go ahead and bring in this tweet here from Mark on Broncos, compiling all of the key takeaways and talking points from the Payton and Payton presser. And one interesting question that they got asked pretty early on is, do they use players who are currently on the roster as sort of a sounding board for prospects who may be coming in through the draft? They may have played with this player in college, or maybe they went against that player in college, and they could provide some insight as to what this player would bring to the team. For example, they've called Bo Nix a couple of times when they were scouting Oregon players to get Bo's insight. You'll think back to last year when they were scouting Bo Nix, they actually called up Alex Forsyth, who was Bo's teammate at Oregon, and they got his insight. They did the same thing previously with Pat Surtain, but now PS2's been in the league so long that he can't really provide insight on many of these Bama players because he didn't play with them. PS2's been in the league for, 4 years now, so this is kind of null and void with him, but George Paton said that they have previously done that with him, so that's kind of cool that they use some of the more established players on the roster to get insight on their former teammates and get their opinions on who they might want to draft. That's really, really cool. Another key talking point from George Paton is that he has talked to or will talk to pretty much every single GM in the NFL leading up to the draft about a potential trade, if they want to move up or if they want to move back. They want to get a gauge, no pun intended, on where they are in the draft. They want to figure out, okay, if we want to move back, who could be some teams that we could move back with? Or if a player that we really like falls down to like striking distance, for example, could we maybe move up to 15 or 12 or somewhere in that area to get to striking distance to get to that player? That is definitely conversation that George and Sean have been having internally, but also externally with other organizations in the NFL. George also said that this is the most prepared that they have been as a regime for the draft because of the continuity. This is George and Sean's third draft together, and they have a pretty clear vision for how they want to build this team, and they're on the same page. So there's not going to be any internal conflict inside the draft room. They both feel like they have a common goal and a common philosophy for how they want to build this roster, and there are a lot of other organizations out there that can't say that. You have plenty of other organizations where the GM wants to go in one direction, the head coach wants to go in another direction, and ultimately the GM will usually split the tie, but then the coach will end up with a player that they didn't even want to begin with, and that just sets up a bad dynamic for the coach and player relationship. With Sean and George being on the same page here, that significantly reduces the chance that that will happen. So really cool to see that continuity here in Denver. It's something that we have been begging for a long time. It's good that finally we know who's going to be running this organization long term for the next 5+ years, and we don't have to worry about that crap short term or long term. The next talking point is that I talked about this as well in a separate video. Sean Payton agrees with the general notion from media and fans that the first round is a little bit light in terms of players that have a true first round grade on them. Obviously, players will end up going in the first round that probably would go in the second round in other drafts because you don't have quarterbacks who are pushing blue chip players down the board like last year when 6 quarterbacks went off the board in the top 12. So Sean Payton said that it feels good to be picking at 20 where you still have a higher chance of getting a blue chip player with a true first round grade as opposed to if you were picking at, say, 31 or 32. But just because there's some weaknesses in true first round graded players that doesn't mean that this is a weak draft class. There's plenty of depth in the second, third, fourth round and beyond, and both Paytons hammered that point home that the Denver Broncos really hope that the meat and potatoes of their draft is going to be in the second, third, and fourth round. That's where you build depth, and that's where you add talent to your roster. Another thing that Sean Payton talked about, and I could not agree more with this, is that the talk about getting weapons for your quarterback is a little bit overblown. Yes, having weapons for your quarterback helps, but the two best friends to help develop a young quarterback like the Broncos are with Bo Nix is having a really good defense and having a really good run game. That tells me that those are the areas that the Denver Broncos are going to be focusing on in the draft, and I'm really pleased with that because I feel like being able to bolster this defense, maybe with another good defensive lineman, that way you can have a solid rotation in case guys go down, or Zach Allen, you could get him to play maybe a few less snaps. He's played an ungodly amount of snaps the last couple of years for you. So being able to bolster an already big strength for your team in the defensive line would be absolutely huge. Or being able to get that dynamic running back, I'm hoping that we can somehow do both in the top end of this draft, and then get an inline tight end somewhere in there, and you will have filled pretty much every need that you will need to fill in the draft this year, and I will come away extraordinarily happy. Payton did affirm that there will be a focus on the running back position. They are going to take a running back. Will that be in the first round? I don't know, but they are going to take at least one running back in the draft. I would not be surprised at all if they took more than one running back in the draft. As far as taking a running back in the first round, George Payton said that they are open to it if the player is worth it. And Sean Payton said that if you are going to do it, you have to have a clear vision for how you're going to use the player. Sean has drafted a first-round running back twice in his career, and both times you could argue that he had a clear vision for how to use that player. The first time was Reggie Bush, his very first draft pick as a head coach, and then he drafted Mark Ingram in 2011. So he's done it a couple of times. Will he do it this year? I don't know, but history suggests that Sean Payton is not afraid of drafting a running back in the first round. And finally, on the wide receiver room, see my previous video that I just put out on this subject. I talked about this a little bit more in depth, guys that I might be happy with later on in the draft, but Sean Payton said that they are pretty happy with their wide receiver room right now. They're happy with the two they selected last year in Troy Franklin and Devon Vele, and they're happy with the one they selected 2 years ago in Marvin Mims, as well as the guys they already have in the building like Cortland Sutton. So they are happier with their wide receiver room than I think fans and media are, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if they don't address a wide receiver at all until day 3, maybe even late day 3. Sean Payton said that they will add a wide receiver at some point, but it's probably not going to be early on just based on these comments here. So these are all the main takeaways from Sean and George Payton's pre-draft press conferences. The draft is just 1 week away, Broncos country. We will be sitting here, in fact, 1 week from right now, and recording this at 7:30 p.m. So in about 1 week from right now, we will be seeing the Denver Broncos make their draft selections. So that is absolutely sick, and I am looking forward to it. We are here, Broncos country. It is my favorite time of the season. All right, guys, let me know in the comment section below, what are your main takeaways from Sean and George Payton's press conference? Do you believe that the Denver Broncos are going to be able to come away with the player that they truly are looking for in the draft? Drop those comments down below, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts, as always. Be sure to leave a like on this video as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. And until next time, guys, I am your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.